On this episode of The Watch Factor, I have my very special guest, my friend, Mr. Naheem Browne, who's here to show us an interesting collection of watches, a combination of vintage pieces that you may never actually seen before, and we'll learn a little bit about his taste and what draws his actual collection. So, Naheem, thank you for joining the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Let's just jump right in. First, if you can tell the audience a little bit about your background and what it is that you actually do professionally.
Sure. I'm a designer. Right now I'm automotive, classically trained here in Detroit. And I'm also an industrial designer. I also do painting and photography as well in my personal time.
Awesome. Yes.
So personally, my level of industrial design has been watch design.
Okay.
I've actually designed watches for Shinola.
Okay.
I was there for a year. It was an internship, and I ended up designing around 30-ish watches for them, both concept and production. Okay. And yeah, that's the level of industrial design.
Okay, cool. So I know we don't have any Shinolas here at the moment, right?
None that we can show.
None that we can show right now. No, that's cool. That's totally fine. But let's just jump in. So I see everything from Tissot to Junghans to Omega. I see some what we would call micro brands. Let's walk through the first watch and tell me a little bit about what drew your interest into your piece. Where do you want to start at?
You know what? Let's start on this end.
Okay.
So this one is a Bulova Accutron. It's from the early 1970s. So that was actually a gift to me from when I had graduated college from a really, really good friend of mine.
Wow.
And he told me that they had some kind of, it was like a special collaboration between Bulova and Ford, which is why the dial is that very specific kind of blue. I'm not too sure if it's true or not. It could be hearsay, but I mean, it told me, so.
Okay.
But it was my very first Accutron piece I've ever had, or any watch with a perfectly smooth sweep, and that just kind of drew me in and entranced me, and it was, I mean, kind of sold me ever since then.
Yeah, it's almost like a tuxedo style kind of where the lines go onto the actual dial. This is a beautiful piece. Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's a very special occasion watch. It's vintage, and I try to keep it in the best condition that I can.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Even the way I can see like the brushed finishing on the case, and then that awesome kind of like old school back to like Seiko where you got the actual crown at 4 o'clock instead of traditional 3. Okay.
And it fit. So
compliments well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Thank
awesome.
you.
And where do we go from there?
Oh, we can just go right into the teenage Grand Seiko.
Okay, all right, let's do it. Let's do it.
That is actually a Seiko SARB 033. For those who know, know.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. It's a perfect version of that. But it's funny because they call it the baby Grand Seiko, but I called it the teenage Grand Seiko because I think I changed the handset on that to a Grand Seiko handset that I found aftermarket.
Okay.
And I also changed the bracelet to a Shinola Monster bracelet, which has the push button diver's extension clamp. Okay. So it kind of has a little bit of everything about everyday watch, and it still has that dressy feel. So it's kind of the perfect balance between dressy and sporty, as well as connecting to the Seiko and Grand Seiko heritage.
Gotcha.
So that to me was just that was my ultimate Seiko mod. It's just a very delicate Seiko mod.
Now you got to tell me a little bit about the mod. So how were you able to even find hands that could fit, and where did you go to select them? Give me a little bit about that backstory.
It was an online site. I forgot the name. I think it was Lucius Atelier, I believe. Okay. It's a Seiko, a very popular Seiko modding site, and they have a bunch of hands and dials and everything that fit very certain movements. And so that one uses a 6R15. So I just found a handset that fit the 6-hour movement, and took it to my local watchmaker. Shout out Jaleel, you're great. And boom, there you go.
It's awesome.
I'm always mixing and matching things all the time, especially as a creative. It's just like you think like, okay, this is cool, this feels great, but what if it was like this instead?
Right.
Or what if it was like that?
I totally get it. Yeah, because I mean, even looking at the different variations of the different straps, right? I mean, the different types of grain prints that are on them, you can see the versatility and just the way you can kind of break it up. So I can totally get that. You have one of the latest Tissots that everybody has been drooling and going crazy over, the PRX in blue dial. Tell me what made you choose this watch.
So actually, that's a watch that I chose with my girlfriend. We went into an authorized dealer, and we both ended up walking out with watches.
Even for the price point, I think these are coming in below $7 too.
That one is actually $375.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, so even better. The automatic version comes in at around that for sure. And it's funny because I was actually going for the automatic first. I walked in thinking I'm going to get the automatic. That's what it is. And I walked over the courts and I absolutely love it even more.
Now, I feel like Genta has a special space somewhere in your heart, if you will. You know, when you speak about it. How did you learn about Genta, and just kind of like how does he actually influence you in a certain way?
I feel like when it comes to watch design of that era, I feel like he was the one designer that wasn't afraid to take risks and to just really just push the envelope to something that's some completely different thing, completely different ethos. Like steel was never considered luxury,
right?
But then he's like, you know what? Why not? Why not make it steel?
Yeah,
you know. And especially with right now, in the era of design that we're in right now, with sustainability being at the forefront and a lot of new materials and ways of thinking are being pushed, it kind of reminds me that to reinforce that same type of ideology, to push for new things, for new surfaces or new materials and just new ways of thinking.
And I think later on, I'll show some of your prints.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about that in the background a little later on. So I was telling you earlier before we actually started recording that I was at Worn & Wound, came across this watch, not specifically this one, I forgot the model.
The Hyperion.
The Hyperion. And I still have regrets till this day about not getting that watch because now it's sold out and I can't find it. And was pretty shocked to see that you have one of this brand's models. Tell me a little bit about this one here.
So the Laurier is something that I had seen online by just stumbling doing watch research. And as I was telling you earlier, I had seen it, and all I remember was just having this gut feeling of, I need that now. I don't know what it is. I don't care how much it costs. I need that. And it was great to see that it only, being at the price point that it was. And I also just really fell in love with the story about the brand, and the husband and wife coming together, and they were both teachers. They had no design background at all, and I have a huge appreciation for that. To say, well, wow, like you came from a completely different background, and you came up with that. I feel like it just speaks for itself, really.
I feel like they totally knocked it out the park.
I did modify it a little bit though. I polished the bezel.
Oh, okay.
The bezel comes brushed originally.
Okay.
And I went through and I, kind of thought, like, what would this look like? And, again, with the creative, always changing stuff, it's what would it look like with a polished bezel? So.
Hey, you might be changing the game for them in the future with a different variation. So, no, that's awesome. It's so funky because the red arrow hand literally pops.
Yeah.
It pops like the gold accent.
It throws you off.
It totally throws you off, but like it works so well, and you wouldn't think. Like I'm sitting here going like, why would you add that red hand? But it pops the dial so much, and then it's kind of like a sunburst, kind of like a silver dial. But that's gorgeous. And then what's cool is like, it's a name that you don't know, so it sends you on a journey, right? You start researching, trying to find out, and that's the beauty of it. So, no, that's a gorgeous, gorgeous piece. And then we move to a classic. An Omega. I'm not exactly sure what the specific reference, but this is a Seamaster. What time period is this watch?
That's from 1961.
1961. And it looks like a linen dial or linen dial. Beautiful, beautiful. Tell me a little bit about this watch.
So I had found it online when I was doing some research, as we all do, always cruising to see what's the next hit. And I was online and I found that and I thought, wow, that's so classic and so clean yet feels so modern.
Very modern.
And I immediately thought of Gary Steingardt's Talking Watches episode when he had his Longa and he had his Patek Philippe sitting next to each other in that one shot. And I thought, wow, those are two just the essential watch, just the epitome of the word watch to me. And just in beauty and in just the simplicity. I just fell in love with it.
I think more people need to go back and start looking for the vintage Omegas.
Yeah,
You'd be surprised.
Incredible.
I mean, for the price point that you're getting, you're still finding some of these pieces under $500. And the type of designs and the way that they used to interpret their timepieces is just crazy what you can find still out there. I mean, like you said, even today, this watch totally transitions through time. It totally looks like a modern watch. An even more expensive watch, to be honest with you, than probably what you can find it for on the market today.
Right.
So, an awesome strap as well. So, what's interesting is like, I was studying your watch collection from the pictures that you sent me earlier, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I have no idea where we're gonna go.
Yeah.
And I'm like walking away as like a student of like, you know, art and design. So it was awesome just to hear the backstory about, you know, your connection to these watches and to some of the greats of our times.
When I first saw that, I'd immediately thought Genta. Like Genta when he did the work for the AP dress watches or the Patek Philippe, like the Golden Ellipse. Like even though it's not the same entirely, I feel like it has the same footprint for me.
Okay.
And it just felt because it has the octagonal case. Sorry. And I had thought, wow, that's just something that stands out on its own. It also has a nice stepped case as well, and it lays very flat. It almost kind of disappears on the wrist. As well as it just looking really like a pure gentleman's watch. It's a small gold watch. You can wear it every day. You can wear it for a suit or with a suit. And when I put it on, it felt like me.
And we've got what's now becoming I'm going to say a little bit of a cult classic or cult following, the Junghans.
Oh yeah.
I feel like we already know, but you were explaining to me earlier before we started shooting a little bit about Max Bill. Draw the connection for the audience about this watch, Max Bill, and you as a creative and a designer and so forth.
Yeah, for sure. I've always felt the connection to him because he, to me, represents what a designer can do, and I feel like a designer can do anything, and he really showed that through his graphic design work, his sculpture work, his industrial design work. He just did everything, and it reminds me every day that whenever I go into the studio to say, okay, this is a new challenge, how do I approach this? I may not know anything about it, but I can figure it out. And that to me is just completely Max Bill.
Yeah. So everything kind of derived from, for me personally, maybe this is just because I like him a lot. I'm trying to make a connection, I'm trying to put the pieces together, trying to make it fit, but to me, I feel like Max Bill started all of that. That if there was not Max Bill, there would not be Browne, there would not be Apple, there would not be this clean movement of design that we're seeing.
I'm going to say something that I want you to tell me if I'm on or if I'm off, and just kind of, I feel like watches find you, right? I feel like you happen to like just land upon and like, oh, and then there's a connection there. Am I right?
I would definitely say
so.
I
just feel like with the variety of watches that we have here on the table and the connection in which you see, and then also how you will interpret the watch, I feel like it's just one of those things where you happen to be out, you happen to be somewhere, whether it be with your girlfriend or you happen to just kind of land upon the next piece.
Yeah.
So
that's another antique store find.
Okay.
And I spotted that one because of the case and the level of reflectivity that the case has. And that was one of my first smaller watches as well. So it kind of gave me more of a confidence to say, okay, I can wear a smaller watch and be okay with it and be fine with it. And now I wear 34 millimeters and whatever, no problem.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I wear anything from 34 to 42 and 7.5 inch wrist.
Now, are you at a point where you would ever trade one of these pieces to get one of those Seikos or that Cartier, or this is in the collection, this is here to stay?
I feel like this is definitely here to stay.
Definitely
for
here to
sure.
stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I've made so many memories with all of these pieces, and they all mean something so much to me. Whether if like I was eating ramen noodles every day, trying to run to my internship, make sure I wasn't late,
right.
or my graduation, or choosing a watch with my girlfriend for the first time,
yeah.
or great memories and trips up north to where I was in the lake with this watch, and I just didn't have to worry about it, or going to the studio. It's every single one of these pieces has such a strong memory for me that I don't think I can really get rid of any of them, really.
Do you find yourself getting inspiration from these watches in terms of you as a designer at all?
Oh, for sure. And especially, going back to the, a few of them actually but especially the Max Bill. The level, how he used spacing and negative space, and also the line weight and the numerical weight and the weight of the hands comparative to the rest of the dial in the case. It's that level of balance of adding so many elements, as well as it, from a distance, it looks very simplified. But up close is that look closer feeling. You go, wow, that's a very masterful way of organization. Mm-hmm. And that to me reminds me every day that I have to really think about everything that I'm doing. Everything that I'm doing is under scrutiny. Everything that I'm doing can really make or break a brand, and I have to be very careful about that. And that reminds me of that every single day.